Did you know there's 7 different functions that I use this one pair of wire strippers for all the time? I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and I'm going to show you those 7 functions that I know of. There could be more. If you know more, put them in the comments. The 7 that I use all the time range from pretty basic to some little hidden features you might not have even realized are in here. So these particular ones, if you zoom in, you can see I can strip 14.2 and 12.2 wire with these. So they aren't really any good for any other gauges, but these are the most common wires you're going to be using as an electrician or around the home. So these are pretty universal sizes. So basically what you've got for all the different functions, and I'll show some of the more difficult ones exactly how to do them, but you've got pliers here on the end. So obviously if you need to grab a hold of a piece of wire or twist something or whatever, you got pliers right there. You've got a cutter right back here, so you can cut cable right with those cutters right there. These first 2 spots here, if you see there where it says 14.2 and 12.2, that's to strip the very outer sheathing off the cable. Okay, so I've got a piece of 14.2 wire here, and if I basically stick that right in the notch that's marked 14.2, give it a little squeeze, a little bit of a wiggle, then loosen off just a little bit. Now I've stripped that outer sheathing right off of there. Okay, so that's really handy. You know, a lot of guys are messing around with their utility knife, trying to cut that, split it down the middle, they're peeling it off. Basically with these, it's a pretty quick function. Done. Okay, so that's probably one of the most fun things I like to do with it. But anyways, so you've got that. So that's these 2 spots right here, the wider ones. Then as you move down, you'll see 14 and 12. So those are for stripping the individual conductors, 12 gauge and 14 gauge. That's simple enough. I think everybody knows how to do that, but I'll show you. So here's a 14 gauge conductor right there. Stick it in the 14 gauge slot, give it a little turn, peels right off. Okay, so that works really well for that. What else do we got here? So another simple one is these particular ones happen to be 8 inches long. So a lot of times now you bring your wire into an electrical box and you want at least 8 inches of excess wire outside of the box. So you can kind of use that as a gauge to get your length of wire there so you don't have too much waste. So that's another use that I use it for. Now, I'll just show you another easy one. So let's just say you're going to wire up a receptacle. Okay, so you've got your wire stripped off this neutral wire right here. You need to put a little curl on the end of it, right, to go around the screw. Well, these 2 holes right there are perfect for that. You can stick the wire in there, give it a little twist, you're all ready to go. I didn't quite have enough wire stripped there, but you get the idea. Works out good for that. Okay, so now that's just ready to pop right on the screw and tighten the screw up. How many have I given so far? What am I missing? Oh yes. So I talked about the pliers. So right, just get a hold of something, whatever. The cutters on the end, cut whatever. You can cut the whole cable if you need to with them. They're good. Okay, so that works. So I covered all that stuff. Now, I would say probably at least half of people that own these that aren't electricians don't know what these 2 little holes right here are. What do they say? One says 630 seconds, this one over here, and this one will say 830 seconds. So those are actually bolt cutters. Those are made for shortening up the little 630 second and 830 second screws that come on a lot of receptacles mostly. So if you needed to shorten that up, let's say, here's a good example. When I do tile backsplashes and I go to put the cover back on a Decora style receptacle plug, this little screw that holds that plate on is way below the screw that holds the receptacle in. And most times I've forgotten to notch the tile to allow this screw room to go in. So what happens is I tighten that screw, it threads into the receptacle bracket, but then all of a sudden it bottoms out on the tile and I can't get it in tight and it just starts bending the little flange on the receptacle. So all the time I'm using these to shorten these screws. So if you look, you'll never see it on the camera, but one side is threaded and one side isn't. So you want to thread this in to the threaded side. I'm just turning it right in there. You got to kind of get the handles just right so it goes through the hole on the back side. And then once you have it into the depth that you want, squeeze it and turn it out. Sometimes you need a screwdriver. I got lucky this time. Didn't need it. So now I'll just put it down there. That screw used to be that long. Now it's that long. Very handy. I use that all the time. So, and same thing, I don't think any of these are actually an 8/32, but same thing over on this one over here. It'll cut an 8/32. So those are typically your screws that are holding the, what would be a good example? The screws on a junction box cover that are holding the junction box cover on, if you needed to shorten those up. Okay, so that's a feature I don't think most people even knew about. So I think that had it. Let me look at my list. Pliers, yep. Cutter, yep. Strip the outer jacket, yep. Strip the insulation, yep. Put a bend in the end of the wire, got that. The bolt cutters, got it. 8 inches length. So I'll put a link to these pliers down in the description below. I'm not sponsored by these guys. They never sent me these pliers. You can see these ones are kind of dirty. It's just the pliers that I use all the time, and I thought you guys might like to know some of the little hidden features in it. Maybe you know other features that I never even noticed. If you do, put them in the comments. Thanks for watching.